If you live in the UK, I bet you know this house. Well, maybe not this exact house, but one very like it. There are variations of this suburban house right across the UK. Some have a pair of small dormers, others have one big dormer. Some have chimneys on the gable, others have a chimney in the centre. Some have a recessed front door, while others have a porch. All of them have a symmetrical front elevation with the front door in the middle. Maybe you grew up in this house, maybe your friends own one, maybe you live in one right now, or you're thinking of buying one and you are wondering how to get more space. If you are new to the channel, my name is Neil and I am an architect based in Edinburgh. I've been altering, extending and renovating homes since 2009 and I make content showing how this type of work is done. If you watch the channel regularly, you know I offer consultations to homeowners right across the UK. They need my advice about construction costs, planning permission, building regulations, and whether there are better ways to get what they need from their homes. The owners of this house in Scotland contacted me last week to discuss how to get more space. They already had a plan to make the house much larger, but they suspected that design had problems, and they were right. In this video, I'm going to look at the client's design, explain the issues with it, and then move on to an alternative redesign that achieves most of what they need for much less money. I'm going to discuss the planning system, building regulations, and construction costs. So if you want to skip ahead, I've put chapter timestamps below. Let's get started. The client's design. The existing house was built in the early 1950s and, as far as I can tell, the garage and the rear extension are original, but the conservatory was added later. The client bought the house in 2016 and began looking at the possibility of extending the house before COVID lockdown. They had a construction budget of £250,000 and drew up these plans showing what they wanted to achieve. The existing ground floor would be turned into bedrooms, with a large kitchen, living and dining space at the rear. The upper floor would have a new master bedroom above the new extension and an ensuite bathroom above the existing garage. This design would transform the house into a 5-bedroom home with a south-facing living area overlooking the rear garden. But even before COVID, a project this size would have been cutting it fine at £250,000. The amount of work inside the existing house would be significant, upgrading the existing electrics, heating and windows, as well as adding modern insulation and knocking walls to alter the layout. It doesn't come cheap. That's a lot of work and would have swallowed a large chunk of the budget before they built the extension. The ensuite bathroom above the garage isn't feasible because that garage structure wasn't built to support more than its own weight. I've made a whole video about building above garages. There's a link in the description if you want to see more. The rear extension measures 60 square meters on the ground floor and about 30 square meters on the first floor. In today's prices, that would cost at least £250,000 plus VAT, and that's just the extension. The work inside the house would be additional. All in, this project could set you back £400,000 in 2024. Just let that sink in. My design. The client had watched several of my videos, including one I made earlier this year about house extension costs, and had an idea their design was unaffordable. They sought my opinion, and I was quickly able to confirm their hunch. That said, I saw a way to make this house larger, get 5 bedrooms, more bathrooms, and a better living space for less. This video is just a very quick sketch layout, nothing fancy, but it shows what's possible. Let's go through this step by step, and if you have any questions or better ideas, post them in the comments. First off, convert the garage to a habitable room. It might not be able to support another story on top, but it should be relatively easy to insulate the floor and walls, although that will reduce the internal space. The roof will need to be raised to make this work, but not by much, and the garage door needs to be built up with a new window installed. The new corridor leading to the converted garage will come in useful later on because the next step is to convert the existing kitchen into the master bedroom, complete with an ensuite bathroom and dressing room. We aren't worrying about details at this stage. Remember, this is just about exploring ideas. But that ensuite will need a sliding door, otherwise the entrance to the bedroom will feel cramped. Next, I moved the door to bedroom 1 around the corner, and that allows me to create a bigger vestibule at the entrance door. In previous videos, I've suggested entering directly into the living area and viewers didn't like it. You spoke and I listened. Vestibules work. They make a nice transition between the inside and out and give you somewhere to hang your coat. Next up is the kitchen. I think it makes sense to have this as close to the entrance as possible. It's where we spend the majority of our time these days, and who wants to walk to the other end of a house carrying bags of groceries? To maximize space, the chimney will need to come down so we can remove the fireplace, but I don't think anyone's going to miss it. The dining space should be next to the kitchen, and to make this work, the wall beside the stair needs to be made thinner. I don't know why it's shown this thick on the drawing. It's almost certainly not load-bearing because the roof timbers and ceiling joists probably run from front to back and don't rest on that wall. It's always best to have as much room as possible around a dining table, although the building regulations don't set a minimum size for this space. The existing drawings don't show a measurement for this space either, but I think it's just under 3 meters wide. That's just enough space for a 900mm deep dining table with chairs on each side. It works, but only just. Next up, the big move. Demolishing the conservatory, taking out a chunk of the rear wall and building an extension for the new living space. I suggest creating a sheltered deck at the rear by spanning a new roof over the patio doors, something like I did on this project. The sidewall and roof provide shelter and shade, allowing the occupants to use the garden more often than they otherwise would. I've done this on several projects and clients love it. The patio door should be as large as possible to flood the new space with natural light. There's an upper limit on how much glass can go into a new extension. It's 25% the new floor area, plus the area of any existing window or door covered by the extension. That existing door between the house and conservatory is the relevant one in our case. That's about 4 square meters. The new extension is about 20 square meters, so in total we can have 9 square meters of new glazing. We could get more if we over-insulate the rest of the new structure. This is known as a compensatory calculation and they can get complicated, so take advice from a specialist if you're planning something like this. For this design, I don't think we need much more glazing. We could pop a roof light into the extension, but I like how part of the space has a return wall. That's ideal for watching TV. You can place a sofa in there and not have to worry about glare from the south-facing glazing. And if you are serious about extending your home, check out the sponsor of today's video. Sunflex UK designs and manufactures high-quality aluminium windows and doors in the UK. I've used them on several of my own projects and I believe they offer a great balance between cost and quality. Don't just take my word for it though, check out these videos I made, which include the cost. There's a link up here and in the description. Construction costs. With the basic design worked out, I made some refinements. Moving the door to the bathroom, creating a separate utility and store under the stairs, adding an ensuite to the new bedroom in the garage, and turning one of the bedrooms on the upper floor into a bathroom. Now this kind of tweaking can go on forever, but the big question is what would this design cost to build? Well, the extension would cost about $3,500 plus VAT per square metre, so that's £70,000 plus VAT. Taking down the rear wall of the house to connect the extension, adding a new steel beam and all the associated remedial work would cost at least £15,000. Converting the garage would cost $25,000 and the internal changes to the layout of the house would cost in the region of £60,000 once you factor in remedial work, wiring, plastering, plumbing, decoration and new flooring. The new kitchen units, appliances and worktop would cost around £15,000 and the 3 new bathrooms £5,000 each for units, fitting and tiling. All told, this project would have a minimum budget of £200,000 plus VAT. The client's overall budget was $250,000, so that leaves room for a contingency fund, and with a house this age, it's almost certain we would find a few things we didn't expect. Damp, rot, subsidence, lead pipes, asbestos, defective electrics, broken drainage pipes, leaking roofs, you name it. Experience tells me there's a better than 50% chance of finding something, so always have a contingency fund. Planning permission. You might be wondering whether this design needs planning permission. Could it be approved using permitted development instead? And the short answer is maybe. I made a video about how permitted development can ruin your life. If you are interested, there's a link in the description, but the short answer is that each local authority can vary its rules on permitted development, so always check and always apply for a certificate of lawfulness before building anything. The biggest concern the planners will have with this design is the conversion of the garage, because it removes an off-street parking space. We also added one more bedroom to the house, and the calculation for the number of parking spaces per dwelling is determined by the number of bedrooms in the house. Again, each local authority sets its own rules on this, so always take advice before planning your project. Building regulations. Aside from the amount of glass in the extension, you might be wondering about the stairs leading to the kitchen. Previously, the stairs led to a hallway and then to a small vestibule. Under Scottish building regulations, the level of fire risk for a house is determined by the height of its top habitable floor. And in this house, the top floor is less than 4.5 meters above the ground, so we only need one escape route, early warning, that's smoke detection, and escape windows in each habitable room. The stairs doesn't need to be in its own enclosure. Occupants can escape through the new open plan space. The English building regulations arrive at the same conclusion, but the wording is different. Now, no design is perfect, and the compromise with this layout is driven by the cost. I can see several criticisms. The kitchen is smaller than ideal for a 5-bedroom house, and the utility space will be cramped, perhaps just a stacked washer and dryer. Converting the garage means loss of storage space, although the garden is big enough to accommodate a shed if the owner needed it. The dining space might be functional, but it's tight, and you have to walk past the table to get to the living area. If you see other missed opportunities in this design, let me know in the comments. And if you are thinking about altering a home anywhere in the UK, check out the reallifearchitecture.co.uk website. There's a link in the description. It's packed with useful information for homeowners in the UK. You can book a consultation with me if you need specific advice about your property. Please read the terms and conditions before you book. And if you found this video useful, please hit the like button. It really helps the channel. And if you want to see more content like this, you should subscribe. I make new videos every week.